It's Jerry. I'm sorry I'm 3 minutes late. I just had a sneezing attack. I think I have a cold or something, which I don't normally have. It's a beautiful day at Rythmia, a beauty, a real beauty. Just a gorgeous day. It's always so beautiful here in Guanacaste, Costa Rica. From wherever you're tuning in, I hope you're having a beautiful day. One of the things today, it's an amazing week. Michael Beckwith was here last week. He was actually here the week before, stayed an extra week, and just had an amazing time. Him and I went out to dinner and had a great conversation. He's just an amazing, amazing guy. I love him so much, and glad to be a friend of his. Yeah, we had so many interesting people last week. Caesar, Milan, the 2 weeks before that, Frank Biden. Like, we're getting all kinds of amazing people here, and they're having the same experience, this experience of a new beginning and love and all that. I want to talk a little bit about Rythmia. So right now, over 13,500 people have come through this program. 95.77% claim a life-changing miracle during the stay. That is a soul merger or soul reclamation. 91.89% of the people that have been here 6 months later say that miracle is still working in their life. And this was the week that changed their life. Crazy, crazy statistic. Over 2,100 TripAdvisor reviews. And as a percentage of 5-star reviews, we're one of the top 10 resorts in the world of any type. In the world, right? 2,100 people that have written reviews. Sorry about my cold. In the past few weeks, I've been talking about this, the miracle of having a rebirth and a new opportunity from a focused place to become a beneficial presence on the planet. I've been talking about that in all different ways. And, what's so funny is talking to Michael Beckwith, there's so many people who are stuck in victim consciousness who aren't even on first base yet. And what is victim consciousness? Victim consciousness, as I understand it, is a way of looking at life as if life was being done to you. And from this place, nothing can occur. Nothing can occur because it's all happening to you. So until you can get out of that, nothing new can happen. Now, what gets us out of victim consciousness? And he and I were talking the other night. Well, usually we're usually not pulled by a vision out of victim consciousness. We're pushed by frustration. So things will have to get, so if you're in victim consciousness and you don't have the ability to get pulled by a vision, right, because you're fractured, you can get pushed by frustration. In other words, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, or you had enough of having enough, at that point you can edge out of it. So let's talk about some things. Last week I talked about some of the tools that are needed to really accelerate the journey once you're out. So if you're not out, I would say go to Agape, live stream Agape, do something relative to Agape, watch old live streams, do that, because the victim consciousness is always the first step. And then the life review takes place, where we really look at our life. We really get an understanding of what it is we want, in so much as how we want to become a beneficial presence on the planet. And then there is these accelerants and deterrents from having that happen. Now, I have a book called Truthonomics that is usually, well, not usually, but I'm going to make sure that next week I have here. Sylvia, you're going to make sure next week I have my books with me, okay? And in that, I talk about things that accelerate the process and things that deter the process. So last week, I talked about tithing, but I'm going to just go through real simple stuff, right? So number one, realizing you're 400 trillion to one. That the chance of that sperm hitting that egg is producing you is 400 trillion to one. You are a true one of a kinder. There's nothing like you, and there'll never be anything else like you. You are a one of a kinder. With this incarnation, so the spirit goes on, but the body, we get one body each trip. This body in this trip is my only chance for this body, for this meat suit, to make an impact on this earth. And when I say make an impact, I really mean make an impact. How do we make an impact? If you ever saw the impact that you're making, whether you know it or not, you would be amazed. The butterfly effect of your being, the fact that you did these things your whole life, parties you attended, things you said about someone, help you've given someone, hurt that you've hurt someone, your life is affecting the planet. It absolutely positively is. So when we switch that to wanting to be a positive impact on the planet, how does that start? It starts with the tiniest thing, being a positive impact on myself. So once you decide that, how then am I going to become a beneficial presence on the planet? What do I want to be? What do I want to do with the remaining years of my life? Do I want to, please excuse me, do I want to live in Africa and help people there? Do I want to live in California and do whatever, surf? Do I want to become the best basketball player who ever lived? Do I want to become a healer, an energy worker? What do I want to do? How do I want to become a beneficial presence? And once I decide that, I have to be honest about what it's going to take. It's going to take more than I ever managed, more than I've ever imagined. Meaning, it's going to take longer than I could ever imagine, 10 years to be exact. It's going to, or 10 years not to be exact, but about 10 years. It's going to be harder than anything I've ever done. Because when you bring light, you get a lot of resistance early on. It goes like this. It gets easier as it goes. It's going to take everything in me. There are days I'm not going to want to do it. So what is the first thing I have to do? I have to make agreements with myself and honor those agreements. Don't rely on motivation. Don't rely on your desire to do it. Don't rely on any of that. Rely on your agreements. If you rely on your agreements, you can't go wrong. If you're an agreement keeper. So the first thing we want to do is become an agreement keeper with ourselves. In other words, if I say, I'm not going to eat cake for a month, I don't eat cake for a month. But it didn't start out that way. It started with little things. And what are those little things? Making an agreement to get up, making an agreement to pray, making an agreement to do breath work or yoga or prayer or whatever it is that you do. And honoring that agreement regardless of how you feel in that moment. And then all of a sudden, that then can shake down to diet, which leads to health, which helps in the acquisition of the beneficial presence. This is all aligned. There's nothing that's not aligned. So you can do all this by starting with keeping agreements to yourself. Pretty simple stuff. Now, once you decide what it is, you write it down. You write it down, and then you write down the things that you have to do every day to do it. Then you write down how you're going to tithe once that occurs. In other words, I'm working at Amazon in distribution, and I'm making, I don't know, 50 grand a year. And I have this thing that I want to become an energy healer. And I'm going to start this energy healing because I'm going to learn it. Maybe it takes 6 months to learn it. 6 months to learn, a lifetime to master, but 6 months to learn. And then I'm going to start offering it to people in Amazon that I work with. And then after I get good at it, because Jerry's out doing this healing and he's really getting good at it. It made all the difference in me. I put a little thing up in the lunchroom. I da-da-da-da. Next thing, I got 50 people a month. And then I say, hey, I can no longer do it for free. I'm going to start charging $100 a person. So $100 a person, 50 a month is $5,000 a month, is $60 a year, $60,000 a year. Then my deal with the universe is on my delta, not from the money I have, but from the new money that I'm going to make as a result of becoming a beneficial presence on the planet. I am going to tithe 7% to these things. And I write 7% of the 60, not of the 50, not of the 110, of the 60, right? The delta, the difference. Now, I just made the universe my partner. Energetically, I just made the universe my partner. And I just set myself up in a business. And the next thing is 2 years down the road, I can leave Amazon, or 3 years down the road, and da-da-da. This is a way out to independence. This is becoming a beneficial presence, and that's year 3. Imagine by year 10, when I stay on this and keep getting better and charging more and da-da-da-da-da. It's this self-fulfilling prophecy of this, and I'm tithing more and more and more, and you sign that. Now, all of a sudden, we already know from the Harvard study that you are 1,000% better off 10 years after the people that wrote their goals down than the people that didn't. 1,000%, not 30%, not 11%, not 0.6%, 1,000% better off. So, by golly, they already did the work. They did the study. Learn from it and write them down. Simple stuff. Now, here's one thing I want you to do. So acknowledge how long it's going to take. Write them down. Sign it. You have an agreement. You made your agreement to tithe, to delta. And now comes to daily prayer. And this is where a whole nother shortcut is. It's not a shortcut in work. It's a shortcut in the universe. So one of those is tithing, right? And the other one is prayer, spiritual mind treatment, or gratitude prayer. It has different names. I'm going to show you how it works. It's in my book too, and it's really quite simple. So how to pray and to agree to do it every day. So how long does it take for me to pray? Exactly 15 minutes. Because I do it on the treadmill. I do it on the treadmill. It's on my phone, and I read it while I'm on the treadmill. And and that's actually cool too, because if you're not running, if you're walking can put you into a trance state. And part of praying this way has to be in a trance state, meaning you have to feel what you're saying. So let's talk about it. So the first thing you want to do is thank your God for these things that he or she has already given you. So you're saying, God, thank you for these things you have already given me in your most holy and sweet names, whatever that is, the mother, the father, the da-da-da-da, your highest self, however you see God or the universe. And then start thanking. So what am I thankful for? I'm thankful for this beautiful house. I already have that. And I feel that I have that. Oh my God, I'm thankful for this beautiful house. And I feel that thanks, right? And then the next thing is something I did not acquire yet physically, but is in my thing. So like I would thank you for having 5 rythmia resorts throughout the world, and this. And I feel the same thanks that I felt for my house I already have. Now, all of a sudden, you made a vibrational connection with that next thing, as if you already have it. Not only that you acquired it, but you thank the universe for having given it to you. It's a historical event. That's how it has to feel. And the next thing is, thank you for my living in Costa Rica. And then something else that did not happen yet. And then thank you for my son, Jerry, and something else that didn't happen yet. And then thank you for my son, Patrick, and something else that didn't happen yet. And then thank you for my son, Tegan, and then something else that didn't happen yet. And thank you for my mom and my sister. And I just keep going on and feeling the same about these different things. 50% of which occurred in the physical world. 50% of the world already occurred in the spiritual world, but not yet manifested in the physical world, but I don't know the difference. I'm living right now as if I have everything that's in my prayers. That's how I'm living. And that's why they keep coming in. On time and ahead of schedule all the time, right? So you can do this. These two things cost nothing. Tithing from the delta of the future cost you nothing. Nothing. And this prayer costs you 15 minutes a day, and it will be the best 15 minutes you've ever spent. Now, a lot of people say, I don't have enough things to fill up the 15 minutes. You don't. What you do is you get about 5 minutes worth and you repeat them and repeat them. I always would start in the beginning with just 5 things, and I would keep doing them and keep doing them until I felt them. Now it's so easy for me to fool myself into thinking that I already have them and giving thanks. It's so easy because it works so well and I have such confidence in it. I have no doubt over it. So I can get into gratitude in a second. A true second. Now, that's an acquired little talent. That's a little talent, and it takes a little time. It might take you a month, but what allowed me to be a high school dropout in a world that required high education. The 80s was a time of college degrees, the 80s and 90s. But what allowed me to have that substandard education and do reasonably well in the monetary world was these things. I made the universe my partner, and I prayed as if I already had these things. Always. Now, if you do that, a couple things happen. So, and I can tell you this is the craziest stuff. So the feeling tone of thinking you have something versus having it is zero. There is no difference. So in other words, if I sit here and think that Rythmia is in 5 countries and helping 15,000 people a year, well, I just got that feeling. So the actual fact of it will be no different than how I feel right now. Do you see that? So for a lot of us, if you're younger and you're looking at your first house or car or something like that, the feeling tone of having that house and having that house have no difference. They have no difference. What ends up happening, though, when you truly feel as if you have that house and you are thankful for it and you are thanking the universe for it, the universe corrects itself by giving you the house. Do you understand that? The universe corrects itself by matching your belief. Just like if you think you're ugly and you're stupid and you can't win, what happens? You appear ugly, stupid, and you can't win. But just like if you know that you're attractive, intelligent, and all good things come to you, then guess what? You act that way and you are it. The universe corrects itself around how we perceive the world. This is our play. This is our show. It's 100% us. It might look like there's other people in it, but it really is our show and we are the star. So whatever we believe or know is going on is what will happen. Now, there will be deviances. Sometimes it'll be up and down and left and right, but it will always correct back to center. It will always correct back to center. What does that mean? I am healthy and strong and da-da-da. But today I have a cold. But tomorrow I won't, because it will always correct back to center. So see that. So in other words, like, let's say that you're starting out and you want to be in the pizza business or organic food business or something like that, and you want to say, I'm going to be this major player in the organic food business on the retail end. I'm going to have an organic restaurant. And you know that feeling, and you have that feeling tone as if it already happened. And you know what you have to do each day to get there. Well, if one out of every 2 days it goes against you, and it will, you will look at that as a simple temporary obstruction on the way to the thing that you already have. Do you see that? It's a huge part of this. It's a huge part of it. These are practical things that cost nothing. It costs nothing. A lot of people say, well, I feel bad then because it's going to get my hopes up and then it might not happen. Well, that's not how it works. See, that thought is what keeps it from happening. That very thought, that doubt is what keeps it from happening. That doubt. Do you understand? Okay, so to recap and to get through this, I'm starting to feel better already. But what are we going to do? Realize we're 400 trillion to 1. Realize that we need to write this stuff down, our goals, and not our goals, because a goal sounds too shallow. It's how are we the out picturing? What does it look like in our becoming a true beneficial presence on the planet? That's our goal. What are we going to do? We're going to try to get there from the delta, not from what we're making, from the delta, from the difference that the pursuit of this new thing is going to give us in revenue. We're going to acknowledge how long it takes to get there. We're going to agree not to deviate from our daily thing, which will include, a little exercise, a little diet, and a little prayer to start. Not hard to do. And we're not going to deviate from it because we're going to exercise grit. Grit is the key ingredient to success in this endeavor. What is grit? Grit is doing it when you don't feel like doing it. It's honoring your agreement in spite of everything else that's going on in your life. That's what grit is. That's what grit is. And without it, you're screwed. You are. There's no other way to tell you, but you are. So you better get that and better understand. Then the praying and the tithing, and you have the basis of the start of a beautiful journey. And once you start, you will feel like you're there. Once you start, you will feel like you're there. And that feeling like you're there is the fulfillment of the process of going there. It's a beautiful thing, and it's really not that hard. It's much harder to not do than it is to do. I want you to hear that. It is much harder to not do than it is to do. The regret, sadness, feeling of not being fulfilled is much harder than actually doing this work and getting there. It is much harder. I'm going to show you. Take a look at two people who are 60 years old. One has done the work and become successful, and the other one chose to doubt it. Now watch those people at 60. See who's sour and see who's not. Then you think, well, that's at 60. I'm going to tell you to roll back to when they were 30 and look at them both again, and you'll find the same thing. So the quicker that you can adopt this mind frame, the better. Now, it works on all things. It works on the feminine, the masculine, if your way of becoming a beneficial presence is by being a mother and having children. What a wonderful way to do it. What the single most important and most wonderful way in the world to do it. If it's by becoming a great dad or a community leader or a business guy or a healer or a cook or a chef or a car cleaner or a carpenter or however it is done, it doesn't matter. The system is the same. So what I've learned in my 59 years is that systems work and people don't. Systems work, motivation don't. A lot of people say it's not what you know, it's who you know, and it's neither. It's the system of doing this, because in that system, the people you need to know show up. The things that you need to know show up. So that is the key to the key. So that is my thing for today. I'm glad you guys tuned in. I'm going to feel better in a day or two, but thank you for bearing with me and my sniffling. I know it's not the best thing in the world, but the message was good and clear. And for you, thank you for sharing your time with me today. Until next week, God keep you, God bless you, God hold you, and we will see you at Rythmia. Cheers.